Coming up.
I guess it's fair to say it was a very conservative family, right? Very religion based. I mean, you guys were growing up very strict. A lot of I guess a lot of oppression, right? I mean, you weren't able to do certain things. You weren't able to watch TV and other certain things. Kind of walk us through a little bit of that, like what it was like growing up in the family and some of the dynamics that happen for people who may not know.
Yeah. Well, I will try to dive in without diving too deep. It's just a very much celebrated culture to live off the grid, and not just as, a farmer per se, because so many of the people in that, like, do believe in wholesome farming and living off the grid in that way, but off the grid, like, not joining culture in every sense of the word, like, they don't listen to normal music, we don't wear certain clothes, meaning, like, normal clothes, we don't cut our hair. We have a look that we try to, whether it's through our makeup, whether it's through the way that we present ourselves, and then, of course, everything is ruled and designated by scripture, which is the Bible. So everyone is pretty much on the same page, but there's so many variations. Like, there were so many families we were friends with growing up that were just slightly different, but those differences can either make or break friendship in that culture. And it's so interesting looking back, seeing how, this this specific family decided that, maybe they were going to have TV in their home, and maybe they were going to watch Toy Story, and not being allowed to be friends with them because that's considered to be of the devil, but yet they still believe everything the same as we do. There's a lot of small little differences, but also the similarities all across the board. And I think everyone's really lonely in that culture at the end of the day. I don't know if they'd ever admit it, but I think that's part of the reason why they choose to go that route, is because there was something in their life that happened that was like a paradigm shift, and so the pendulum swung all the other way around. I really haven't talked or grown up with anyone, even parental wise, as a kid. Like, I heard their stories, the parents of these large families, that they hadn't been through something that made them decide to take that switch to this organized religion, IBLP, Bill Gothard, ATI, whatever it's called.
Mm.
And I think you just really grow up isolated as a kid as well. I knew I was lonely growing up, but it was it was just a persistent feeling ever since I was a toddler that I don't remember not feeling that way. And I think that one of the biggest things that is a takeaway from now getting out of that culture and being in the real world is their perpetual loneliness of always feeling misrepresented or behind or left out. And it's all in here. But that's the biggest thing about getting out from that culture, is that your mind is so ingrained in it, and you don't realize that there's so many little things that you've been taught that you have to deconstruct and you have to heal yourself from. And that takes years.
Yeah.
And I think just this year, I really started to realize that it's not going to happen as fast as I want it to. And I'm not behind, and I'm not misrepresented. I might be completely misunderstood. But if I can't explain myself to other people because I'm still trying to figure out how I work and think based off of 20 years of my life, and I've only been out, to be completely honest, I didn't get out till I was 23, because I was heavily steeped in Trump culture till I was 23, and it took me moving out to Arizona to kind of get all of that behind me. And living in Arizona has been an experience, to say the least, as well. But I'm so glad I moved out here, because where I live right now, the culture is thriving, and there's so many people my age that they grew up going to public school. They went to college. They got a 4-year degree. Like, they're working in corporate. And maybe I don't line up with all those things per se, and I don't want to do all those things necessarily. And, like, let's face it, I'm probably not going to go to university like they did when they were 20 years old. But it's a humbling experience, but it's really cool to get to try to bond with them. And I don't want to say live through them, but kind of get to know what it's like to be normal, Like, in so many ways, I feel like I'm 20 years old. And I'm not. And it's a good and bad thing. Like, I need to grow up in some ways. In other ways, I'm like, whoa, like, give myself some grace. Like, I didn't get to go through that. I never was exposed to that. I didn't experience that.
Yeah.
I feel like a child living in an adult's body. Sometimes it's really weird.
Aye, that's a good one.